Hello guys, this is Dr. Palaniappan Manickam. Previous video we talked about time restricted feeding, how to fast for at least 12 hours, and now to achieve your maximum reduction in your weight loss we need to focus on the eating period as well. What you do in eating period is more important than what you have done in your max period during your school days. Okay, so to achieve maximum reduction in weight loss you need to focus on the calories and you need to focus on what you are eating as well. And the first step in this is to talk to a nutritionist about how to decrease the calorie intake. As I repeatedly told you in the past, that weight loss, only 20% is physical activity, 80% is just mainly diet. So I have the pleasure to invite a special guest today. Her name is Sri Sakthi Ramanathan. She works as a dietitian in Chicago. She has been supporting heart disease patients in preventing heart disease as well. So let's invite her to the show. Oh, hi, Sri Sakthi. Hi, how are you?
Hello. Hi, Dr. Pal. How are you?
Good, good, good. Thank you for your time. Thank you for joining the show.
Yes, it's my pleasure.
Oh, super, super. Sounds good. All right. So as you know, in our audience, we have been talking about time restricted feeding, fasting for at least 12 hours, and we have been discussing about how to achieve maximum weight reduction through the simple technique. And to maximize the results out of this, we are trying to see how to focus on the calorie intake during the eating period. So I can guarantee you that all my audience are already following this fasting method. So they are going to eat only for 12 hours. At least that's what I think. Okay. So in that 12 hours, we were going to talk about oil intake in this session, and we'll have future sessions about different topics with you as well. So mainly in our cooking, the calories, most of the calories are coming from carbs, proteins, and fats, and most of them, sometimes fats can provide more calories than what we actually need. And the most important criteria for the calorie content from fat is oils. So why don't you tell us how oils play an important role in the fat loss?
Okay. Yes, that's right. So we looked at, you had told them how to do the fasting period. So while we are eating, there are, calories come from carbohydrates, protein, and fat. Mm-hmm. And 30% of our calories should come from fat. Sure. Today, we'll look mainly into the oils. And oil only forms part of your fat intake, okay? Mm-hmm. So for example, if you are on a 1500 calorie diet, mm-hmm. typically that's what it would be a good starting point for South Asians. For our body type, aim for something around 1500 calories. But if you want it to be more precise, you can get tailored. But if we look at 1500 calories, 30% of your calories should come from fat intake. That will be about 50 grams of fat. And what does 50 grams mean, right? So 50 grams, for example, a teaspoon of fat or oil is 5 grams already. So this is a teaspoon and this is a tablespoon.
Oh my God, the teaspoon is 5 grams already.
Yes, the teaspoon is 5 grams. The teaspoon is 5 grams already. So let me show it this way. So this is a teaspoon and this is a tablespoon. So, and out of the 50 grams, this is it's a big difference. So what we have at home, you'll have to go and check. Actually get a teaspoon measure, which says teaspoon and tablespoon on it. Only then you'll know the difference.
Okay. I think my spoon is definitely bigger than these two.
Okay. Yeah, so you'll have to go and...
I don't know what kind of category my spoon belongs to, but at least for the audience, please make sure that you do use a teaspoon.
Yes, correct. So teaspoon should be used for measuring all of your oil, especially the person who's cooking has to use a teaspoon. So measuring is the first important thing. And out of this 50 grams of total fat that we have, 25 grams should come from cooking oil. And today we will focus on what should we do with this 25 grams of cooking oil, which is basically 5 teaspoons of oil per day.
So you are recommending to your patients that you use 5 teaspoons of oil per day for one person in the family?
Exactly. Okay. So if you're making one dish, if there are 4 people in the family, use no more than 4 teaspoons of oil. So then when that dish is finished between all of the 4 of them, each of them got 1 teaspoon. And you would have several other dishes. So if you have 5 dishes that day and you've used the right amount of oil, then you're going to end up getting 5 teaspoons of oil per day per person.
Okay. So I understand. One dish, let's say for chicken tikka masala. So you do that at home.
Mm-hmm.
You have 4 people in your home. You have 4 teaspoons.
Yes, you start your cooking or with 4 teaspoons of oil. You use 4 teaspoons of oil per dish. It sounds very less because usually for chicken tikka masala, you would use a quarter cup because
Right.
you just pour it. We're used to pouring oil. So I am going to say the first starting point is use a measuring device.
Right.
And in a day, we're allowed 5 teaspoons of oil per person. And this is for a person on a 1500 calorie diet. So
Hmm.
yeah, because we have to give room for all the other fat
Right.
sources like milk,
Exactly.
dairy, cheese, meat, bread, baked goods.
Right.
So
And
there
there are
are only,
healthy fats as well. Avocado. Avocado has fat content.
yes, avocado has fat too. So you have
Mhm.
to allot the other 25 grams for everything else and then
Right.
25 grams just for your oil intake.
Got it. So just as a starting point for one dish, you can have 1 teaspoon per person. So I've done my some cooking as well. I usually like pour at least half of the bottle, right? We
Mm-hmm.
don't use spoons anymore because we don't have time.
Yeah. And then and when you pour it, it looks good. Usually when we pour it out, it's about a quarter cup to a half a cup ends up in the kadai.
Mm.
So yes, you have to pay attention, use a measuring device.
So, but the key thing is if they decrease the oil intake, will there be a compromise in the taste? That is the most important question.
Yes, so there will be a slight compromise,
Uh,
but that's something you'll have to get used to. And then when it becomes a habit, you won't crave that anymore. And you can have 2 cheat days per month. So if you have to have biryani or chicken 65, then go for it. And on that cheat day, that's fine. Don't feel guilty about it. Allot yourself cheat days. That way you have something to enjoy. There will be a taste difference, but if you're using flavors, a lot of good natural flavors, they'll compensate.
I still remember my mom used to put dosa, right? Dosa on the
Mm-hmm.
tawa. And she uses easily 3 tablespoons on one dosa easily.
Exactly. Good that you brought up dosa. That's why I recommend idli or steamed items like dokla, um,
Mm.
because if you're eating 5 dosas, you have used up your 5 teaspoons of oil in one
Already.
meal. Yeah.
So then there is no side dish. You cannot have any side dish with dosa. You could just eat dosa directly.
Yes, you have to eat. So that's why I would recommend using whatever pan you're using, a cast iron or a non-stick, use minimal oil, or sometimes if you make thicker dosas, you might not even need oil. When you make thin dosas, you need the oil. So
Mm. Mm.
yes, so this is exactly what I want people to think of. So if you want to, first would be focus on oils, fats, then carbohydrates, and then your protein.
Right. So on the top of it, when I was obese, I used to have 3 dosas, and then on the side dish, I used to have like a small pudi, like a powder, and
Mm-hmm.
pour oil in between the powder as well.
There you go. So all of that. So you're probably exceeding your oil
Yes,
limit
absolutely.
for the
Mm.
whole day. You're exceeding it within a meal. And
Yes.
a 1 gram of oil contains 9 calories. So we're not going to go so much into all of that detail, but
Right.
limiting to the 5 teaspoons of oil per person per day really gets your fat intake under control somewhat. Of course, there's more parts to the fat, which
Yes.
we'll have to
Yes.
focus.
Yes, but perfect. At least the starting point is, please focus on the oil intake that you guys are using on a daily basis. And that may be a huge eye opener for many people. And then
Yes.
coming to the second question, okay, so now we know that we need to limit the oil intake. So if that is the case, which oil that we should use?
Good.
Especially for Indian cooking, because that's where you have the high heat cooking.
Yes, good. So always the quantity matters. So we spoke about that. Second, the quality. So what type of oil are we going to use? For Indian cooking, to do the tadka or the vagar or the talip, I hope I've said it in a few different languages,
Mm.
or the tempering, so to say. To do that, we need at least 325 degrees Fahrenheit.
Mhm.
That's a high temperature. So only certain oils will be able to meet that temperature. And it's called, after a certain temperature, oils can start to smoke.
Mm.
And when they smoke, they disintegrate and it's not good for your health. So what are safe oils to use? We want to use oils that are, that when heated above 350 degrees Fahrenheit, they do not disintegrate or start smoking. So what are those oils? Most oils fit that range. So our common oils that we use, sesame seed oil, mustard oil, and some fancy oils like avocado oil, olive oil. The refined olive oil is the one that has the higher smoke point. The virgin olive oil is really it has more impurities. It's not refined, and therefore it has a lower smoke point. So you'll have to keep olive oil, the refined one, to use for cooking, and then the virgin olive oil, extra virgin olive oil, to use for salad dressings, just to pour on top. So,
but that is for people who eat salad. I don't eat salad.
Yes, that's if you're going to eat salad. Yes, but for Indian cooking, the oil நம்ம தாளிக்கிறத தாங்கிறதுக்கு or the vagar or the chonk, அது தாங்கிறதுக்குள்ள oil, the oil that fits that will be our usual oils that you can look up the list, anything above 350 degrees Fahrenheit. And for frying, you need over 400 degrees Fahrenheit. So frying should be limited to only once in 2 weeks. So if you want to have deep fried food, enjoy it once in 2 weeks. And all the other times, try to stay within the oils. Now, the second important thing after smoke point for Indian cooking, it is you want to pick oils that have more mono unsaturated and polyunsaturated fats in them versus the saturated fat.
Right.
Because saturated fat, research shows that it can increase your LDL cholesterol or the bad cholesterol. It can elevate your triglycerides. It can cause increased weight gain. All of this leads to heart disease and diabetes. So you want to pick oils that are made up mostly of monos or polyunsaturated fats. What are these oils? Let me just give you a quick list of those oils. Olive oil, avocado oil, sesame oil, mustard oil, peanut oil, safflower oil, sunflower oil.
Yeah.
Yes, sunflower. These are all monos and polyunsaturated. So they are the better oils, but 5 teaspoons. So even though they're better oils, doesn't mean we can use a lot.
Exactly.
So that, and then the bad ones, or the ones that you should try to limit, are going to be the butter, ghee, coconut oil, palm oil. So you want to always look at Indian snacks. What are they made of? Because palm oil, frying in palm oil has a higher shelf life. So you want to make sure. So these are the oils that have more saturated fat. And then the third category is the one that I say no, do not use, which will be vegetable shortening like dalda, vanaspati, or animal fat like lard, or reusing oil. Because if you've already fried oil, so that these will be the avoid. So 3 categories for you for oils. One, I would call it the good, bad, and the ugly oils. So the good oils are the ones with a lot of monos and polys, which is sunflower, safflower, sesame, mustard, olive, all of that. Canola oil as well. The bad oil will be the ghee. So when I say bad, it's still you do have an allowance, but it's just got more saturated fat. Limited. And then the third one is going to be absolutely avoided because they have trans fats and they have free radicals in them. Once reusing oil is not good.
My friend Sarana Kumar is not going to like this because he just loves one ghee dosa every day.
Okay, so there again, so that comes back to, so out of the 5 teaspoons, we can allot 1 teaspoon for coconut oil and ghee. So a lot of people watching this video are going to be mad. They're like, well, how can you say ghee is bad? How can you say coconut oil is bad? Because people who are doing like a keto or a paleo diet, they take a lot of fat intake. But it might leave you with high cholesterol levels. That's why for this series, I wanted to talk about fats first, and look into other things. So definitely you do have an allowance for ghee, butter, and coconut oil, but that allowance is 1 teaspoon. And how did I come up with this 1 teaspoon? The AHA, or the American Heart Association, they have recommended only 7 to 10% of your calories come from saturated fat. So therefore, when I do my calculation, that boils down to about a teaspoon.
So ghee and butter are rich in saturated fats.
Yes, they're rich in saturated fat, and 1 teaspoon. So if your friend Saravana Kumar wants to have a ghee dosa, 1 ghee dosa, but 1 teaspoon. 1 teaspoon of oil, not a tablespoon, and then he can enjoy it. So that's the breakdown for your good, bad, and ugly fats.
Nice. Super. Sounds good. So so right now, if we focus more on the oil intake and based on what you have said, looks like we cannot have deep fried foods more than once every 2 weeks.
Correct.
That is a big, I'll get a heart attack just hearing that.
Yeah. Like, the
So when you say deep fried foods, like vada,
yes, vadas, bondas, bhajis,
cheese, pakora,
pakoras, fried chicken. So chicken 65 or chicken fish fry. All of this counts as fried food. And
so it's not like fresh food alone. It's also the snacks that we buy from the Indian stores.
yes, and you have to be very careful. Read the label. If it's made of palm oil, don't buy it. It's very high in saturated fat. So sometimes people say, I made my own snacks at home. It's homemade. Is it healthy? So the point is, okay, if it's homemade, actually, you can at least have it once in 2 weeks. But what are you doing with the oil that you used? Is your mom using it back in your dosa again? So there's more to it. So you cannot use reused oil. You cannot use oil that's been heated once. That's why automatically people stop frying things, because they don't have to waste the oil. So
right.
That actually, is correct.
I mean, I'm citing this as a joke, but this actually happened. My friend Saravakumar, he usually called me. He said, I'm having this nausea, vomiting, abdominal pain. And I was like, dude, what happened? Did you eat anything outside? I didn't eat anything outside. I ate at home. The only thing is I have been using this oil for the last 3-4 days.
Yeah, because they'll use the oil.
Reheating oil is not good, but that makes a point that you don't have to use the oil up front as well. You could just use very limited quantities and then keep on using it on a daily basis.
Yes. So that is right. You can use the air. So what are other options? You could bake. You can have baked chips, and you can have air fried chips as well. So these are some substitutes. So you'll be still using a little bit of oil. You won't get the full crunch, but it'll still be crispy.
Right. So I think we have to compromise a little bit to achieve weight loss. And I think this is a compromise that we can easily achieve. Do to achieve our goal.
Yes.
Anyways, thank you so much for talking about the oil and fats. What is your take-home message to people? Let me just summarize some few points for my audience.
So the take-home message for today is oil is a type of fat, and we need to limit our oil intake and aim for 5 teaspoons of oil per day per person, and measure the oil. Start measuring your oil, then you'll become aware of how much you're using. Second to the quantity comes the quality. Try to use more of the monos and polyunsaturated fats. And therefore, you'll be reducing your calories. This is one way of reducing your calories. And then we'll look at the other parts later.
Sounds good. So most importantly, avoid palm oil as much as possible, especially the Indian snack which says palm oil. Try to avoid as much as possible.
Yes, palm oil. Also, Indian snacks use dalda and vanaspati as well for frying. So avoid those that have been fried in vegetable shortening.
Okay. So let's say that if really wants to, somebody is really addicted to palm oil or something like that, then you need to compensate in your other calorie intake so that at least you don't go beyond your required calorie intake, and that is why people gain weight eventually.
Exactly. Yeah. So this oil, the calories coming from oil and fat is only one part. It only makes up 30% of your calories. The others you can focus. So if you do want to have fried foods once in 2 weeks, you'll have to see what else can I compensate that day. Maybe I won't eat 5 dosas that day. I'll eat less, or I'll work out more. So there are all different ways you can compensate and still enjoy the little things.
Yes, absolutely. Better mas light da menu appdi solla mudiyadhu.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much, Sri Sakthi. We will bring you back again for wonderful tips and advices for us. And thank you so much for your time.
You're very welcome.